The universe view gives you an overall view of everything that's happening in your edit window within your session. You can display the universe view by going to the View drop-down menu, Other Displays, Universe. And you can see it displays right here. You can also resize the universe view by maneuvering your mouse to the area in between the edit window and the universe view till you get the double arrows, and then click, and then you can resize that window. You can also make the universe view smaller, or you can also make it disappear by just moving all the way up and then releasing. This is also another way that you can make the universe view appear, is by going to this dividing line between the edit toolbar and the edit window, clicking and dragging down. So two ways: View drop-down menu to make the universe display appear or disappear, and also by moving this dividing line between the edit toolbar and the edit window. The information that's contained in the universe view essentially is all of the track data for all of your audio, video tracks. So you can see up here, the very first track is a blue track, that's the kick track, and then kind of a yellow track and then a green track. You can see it's following along and shows you an exact overview of what's happening in your edit window. Since auxiliary input tracks and master tracks do not contain any audio, they are represented as black areas in the universe view. The current view indicator is this white box that shows up here in the universe view, and it represents everything that is currently being shown in your edit window. So for example, if you zoom in or zoom out, the current view indicator also will change size to correspond with what you have shown in the edit window. Also, if you're playing a piece of music and you have your scrolling options set, the current view indicator will also scroll to remain showing what is being displayed in the edit window. You can change what is being shown in your edit window by simply grabbing the current view indicator and moving it. So you can move it vertically or horizontally, and the edit window will scroll and follow your movements. The universe view can be really helpful if you want to make large changes in your edit window. If you're not sure where you're going, but you know visually, oh, it's right here where these guitar tracks stop, you certainly could just scroll there. It's an easy way to get around. And just another device to consider using to increase your efficiency while working in Pro Tools. There are two types of selections that you can make in Pro Tools in the edit window. They are timeline selections and edit selections. We're going to talk about timeline selections first. Timeline selections can be made by coming down here to the rulers view, pressing with your mouse, and making a specific selection. You can make these selections no matter which tool you have enabled. If you have the grabber tool selected, you may think that you might not be able to make a timeline selection, but as soon as you go into the ruler view area here, it turns into the selector tool. Same with the trimmer tool. If you're working with the trimmer tool, you can make any timeline selection. Also, the timeline selection is going to snap to the grid values if you have grid mode enabled. These blue arrows right here are your timeline selection in and out points. You can also adjust your timeline selection by clicking on those and moving those arrows as well. We mentioned in earlier tutorials the importance of the Link Timeline and Edit Selection button. Remember, if this is enabled, it's going to tie your timeline selection and your edit selection together. If that is disabled, it's easy to have a different timeline selection and a separate edit selection, which is what we have right now. You can also make timeline selections in the transport window. So turn on my transport window. Here you have start and end fields for your timeline selection. So I could click on here and say I want 25, period 1, period 0. So you can hit the / button. Takes you to the next field, and then 27.1.0, and then hit enter. And it will make your timeline selection for you. So that's an easy way to do it as well if you know the location of your specific selection. You can also click on these fields and use your up and down arrows to change those field values. Your left and right arrow also will take you through the beats and bars locations for each of these fields, as well as clicking on the period button on the 10 keypad. Edit selections can be made a number of different ways. You can use the grabber tool and click on a clip, and it will select that whole clip. Also, if you shift and click on adjacent clips, it will select all of those as well. You can also use the selector tool, and you can click and drag to make an edit selection. You can also double click on a clip to select that entire clip. If you triple click on a clip, it will select all clips on that track. So let's triple click on this one. And you can see that it has selected every single clip on this Guitar 3 track. I prefer using the Smart tool, but still the functionalities that we just talked about with the grabber tool and the selector tool apply. So you can go down here with the grabber tool and select. You could also select with the selector tool, as well as double clicking with the selector tool, or triple clicking with the selector tool to select an entire track's worth of clips. Again, just as a review, I've had the link timeline and edit selection button on, and therefore everything that I was making via my edit selections down here was also linking and creating an appropriate timeline selection. Again, I could disable those and make separate edit selections from my timeline selection. So the two are distinctly different. We have our timeline selection up here, and we have our edit selections down here. As soon as I link those two via the link timeline and edit selection button, then they are linked. And that's how we use them for our Pro Tools 101 course. You can also make edit selections in the edit toolbar up here. So we can use the same basic kind of commands that we used when we were making timeline selections. So 10, period 1, period 0, / 15, period 1, period 0, enter, and it will make an edit selection for us. You'll also notice if we deselect this timeline and make a change here, it has changed just the edit selection, not the timeline selection. If we zoom in a little bit, you can see here's my edit selection that I just made, 10 to 18, and here's my timeline selection. And that's with them disabled, so the timeline and edit selections are separate at this point. We can also, if we have the expanded version of our transport window open here in the edit toolbar, right there, if we have that enabled, essentially we are seeing the edit selection and the timeline selection here at the same time. So I could do the same thing and maybe make this 13. Now you can see my timeline selection has changed here, and my edit selection is being manipulated or changed here with these start and end selection parameters.